Hello, Theodore Shoebat here, giving you guys another message that you will not hear at church. I guarantee that. It's felt so long since I've done my last video, and I apologize for that, everyone. The reason is because I've been suffering from a vicious fever that I got a few days ago, and it was difficult for me to do videos. I was hawking and sneezing and vomiting, and believe me, it wouldn't be pleasant for you guys to see my face when I was sick. But now I'm getting better, so I decided that I would do my first video in a few days. And it's good to be back, of course. Today I'm going to be talking about a story that took place in China just not so long ago. China took 8 Muslims and sentenced them all to death because they were involved in terrorism. They were actually involved in a very malicious and horrific terrorist attack that took place in China's Xinjiang region that slaughtered around 46 innocent people. There were explosions, and there was also, I believe, some stabbings, and it was just a brutal, brutal attack. And this is how China dealt with it. They took these people, they said, okay, you're guilty, you're going to die. Plain and simple. This is how China deals with things. They don't put them in a mental ward. They don't put them through a psychoanalysis. They don't give them a psychologist and allow the media to come out and say, well, they have mental problems and they had a bad childhood and they had terrible parenting, or they are bipolar and they're schizophrenic. No, they take them, they say, you're guilty for slaughtering people, you die. This is how you deal with things. This is how you bring order to a society. This is why in the book of Genesis God tells Noah, whoever takes the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. Right there, that is the first declaration in the scriptures for the establishment of capital punishment. Capital punishment is what brings order to a society filled with lawless and sinful people. And this reminds me of what the great French philosopher Joseph de Maistre said when he declared so poetically, the executioner, the one who brings order to society. The executioner, the one who brings stability in society. Now, of course, that's not exactly what he says word by word. I'm paraphrasing it for you guys, so you guys can get a clue of what I'm trying to say. But the fact of the matter is that this is how you stabilize a society. As soon as criminals realize, or as soon as criminals think to themselves that, well, if I kill somebody and I'll just claim that I'm crazy, and they won't give me the death penalty, or if I'll attack somebody, or I'll get out sooner or later because I'll get out based on good conduct or good behavior and all that nonsense. That is what brings a society filled with crime. And the way the Chinese are dealing with criminals, not just Muslim terrorists, but other criminals in general, is the way you deal with lawless people. Now, there's another reason why I'm bringing you guys this story, and I apologize if my sentences aren't as clear or if I'm not as articulate. It's just that for some reason, every time I get sick, my mind gets further weakened. My comprehension skills, my ability or my capacity to bring you coherent sentences, it just becomes slightly hindered. And believe me, I'll recuperate, but I'm just telling you this for now. But there's another reason, and there's really the ultimate reason why I'm bringing you guys this story, and that is Christians in China. Christianity is growing in China probably faster than anywhere else. And Christianity in China is now overpowering the atheists. The atheists are now outnumbered by the Christians in China. There's around 70 million or so atheists in China, which is a lot, don't get me wrong. And there's a man in China who goes anonymous, who's a member, he's a senior member of the Communist Party in China. And he stated to a journalist who worked for the New York Times, or sorry, not the New York Times, Time Magazine. He was a China correspondent for Time Magazine. He told this correspondent that there are 130 million, or at least around 130 million Christians in China. 130 million. There are more Christians in China than they are in the whole of Europe. There are more Catholics in China than they are in the whole of Italy. In fact, it probably could be argued that they are more active Catholics in China than the whole of the continent of Europe. This is serious. And you'll say, well, there's 1 billion people in China, that's pretty insignificant. But when you have over 25% of the population convert to a specific religion, that religion has enough influence and leverage to alter the political infrastructures of that country. It's similar to what happened in the Roman Empire. Before Constantine becomes emperor of the Roman Empire, Christians are still a minority. They're not the majority yet. Christians made up around 1/3 of the Roman Empire. But that 1/3 consisted of politicians. That 1/3 consisted of high-ranking officers. That 1/3 would even consist of high-ranking officers within the military. That 1/3 would consist of people like Lactantius and other Christians within the Roman government who would eventually influence Constantine and eventually convince him to convert to Christianity. So when you have 130 million people in China, this is not only just common civilians. These are very wealthy people. These are very prestigious citizens. These are high-ranking politicians. These are very prestigious people. And those people have influence to, for one, alter the political infrastructures of China, to alter the culture, and to also influence more citizens to convert to Christianity. And when you have an alteration of government in favor of Christianity, what also always happens, and this is inevitable, is citizens who look up to the government, who are influenced by the government, also follow the religious ideals of the government, and they will begin to go to Christianity. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen overnight. It's going to be a gradual process. It's a gradual battle. But we have to have hope for China, and when you look at what's happening in China, when you look at the traits, when you look at the signs, when you look at the fact that you have 130 million people in China who are Christian, you better believe there's going to be some change that's going to happen in China. And I believe that China is soon going to be a beacon of light. So when you have this strong government that is against Islam, and when you have such a high amount of Christians, then it's quite possible that China will one day be a real Christian country. And the government of China will be in favor of Christianity to the point that they will no longer be persecuting Christians, but they will be a force for good to fight against evil. And with the strict laws they have against Islam, China could soon be a Christian nation that will join forces with other Christian nations in the final crusade against Islam and against all evils that want to destroy Christianity, to triumph, to establish victory over all the enemies of God, over all the enemies of Christianity. Soon, God willing, China will be a beacon of light for the true faith. This is Theodore Shoebat. I hope you guys have enjoyed this message. I hope you guys have learned something from this message. You just heard some theology. God bless and God be with us.